Chef Keven, fresh from the farmer's market. Health's a target, getting fresh. Chef Keven, organic and fresh. Beats the rest, getting fresh.
Welcome to Getting Fresh with Chef Keven.
So Keven, from the look of the ingredients here, of course with you it's always helpful and fresh. We talk to you about a diet that includes all these ingredients that has been in the news for several years, and both the press and the scientific community continue to sing its praises. So if I told you there is a diet that is proven healthful, delicious, portable, you can eat this way anywhere in the world, and it's also affordable, what comes to mind?
The Mediterranean diet.
Correct, yes. The Mediterranean diet, there are countless articles, both scientific and non-scientific, that praise the Mediterranean diet. Scientific research has actually confirmed that those who follow this type of diet live healthy, long lives up to 100 years old. Can you believe that?
I can believe that, for sure.
The latest USDA dietary guidelines actually are based on the Mediterranean diet. This guide promotes a higher intake of plant-based foods and a lower consumption of animal products. As you know, that's due to, it aims to reduce saturated fat and heart disease. You can find all that in the 2015 scientific report released by the USDA Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. When we come back, we will introduce you to our guest, who is an expert in the Mediterranean diet. Stay tuned.
Getting Fresh with Chef Keven.
I'm bored. I think I'll ride my bike.
It may never be this easy to help your kids find balance, but you have more power than you know. For a free Parent's Handbook plus other resources, visit the We Can website. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
With us today is an expert on the Mediterranean diet. She is a Greek-American author, lecturer, and contributor to many magazines and television shows. She is also the founder of Crete's Culinary Sanctuaries. That is an organization devoted to the promotion and protection of Crete's cultural and natural resources.
The latest book is called Crete, The Roots of the Mediterranean Diet. Let's welcome Nikki.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you for coming such a long way.
So yeah, a short commute for you, Kev.
Thanks. So let's just tell us about your background. Let's do a little information on that.
Well, I'm a Greek American. I grew up in Washington, D.C. My mother is a great cook. Everybody in my family is a great cook. Restaurant business, of course.
I know them, yes.
All in the restaurant business. So that's what led me to Greece eventually.
How did you develop an interest in a culinary career?
Family business. Yep. I avoided it for a long time. I was a paralegal for many years. So that's a switch. If I tell you, I'll date myself, because then you can sort of do the numbers.
So you've been around food all your life. That's
yes.
Kind of how Keven and I grew up as well. So tell us, what were the staples in your family?
Well, my mother actually, as a Greek American, and trying to incorporate the Greek diet into an American setting was really challenging for her.
I bet.
What was the challenge?
Access to foods that we liked or she liked and wanted to introduce us to, and then keeping us away from junk. It was hard.
That is very hard.
But we were lucky because we weren't allowed to eat and drink a lot of the stuff. We were a little jealous of our friends. But my mother wouldn't allow us to drink Coca-Cola. I mean, of course we did when we went to our friend's house. So we were lucky that she brought us up with good food on a very, very tight budget.
So that's where your interest in food grew, from your parents?
Yeah. I grew up cooking as soon as I could reach the stove.
Can you give us a short list, on top of your head, of the of the foods that are the staples of the Mediterranean diet?
Well, for Crete, it's a little different because the Mediterranean is a very large sea with many countries surrounding
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Cultural, economic, environmental differences, language, religious beliefs. So, but in Crete specifically, we have what's our main staples throughout the years have been snails, greens, wild greens, and all of those things. We still incorporate it into our diet a lot. I'm not saying I eat snails every day, and many people don't because it's, we're moving on from that. But we've got lots of fresh veg, fruit trees everywhere, so we have access, easy access, good climate.
Right.
I have to tell you a story about snails. When I was growing up, I played with them. My sister and I would watch them move, and we used to sing them this song, and they would make their antennas come out. And that provided us with entertainment for hours.
Ah, you didn't step on them or anything.
Oh, no.
Good.
They were sacred. They were our friends.
Oh, good.
Well, we have a lot of local ingredients here that are part of the Mediterranean diet. Seasonally, their season's longer than what we have here, but we have a lot of fresh farmers markets. We have a lot of places you can go to and get a lot of these fresh ingredients that are in the Mediterranean diet. And so let's talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, well, we have so much more access to fresh fruits and veg here in the United States than we did when I was growing up.
That's true.
So we're really lucky here in the States. So when I went to Crete and I said, how can I replicate this and teach students? I've hosted 3,000 nutrition students and food writers over the years, right? I have a school without walls.
Yeah.
So I've hosted all these people, and what I don't want to say is we can only have this in Crete, and you can't take this home with you. So the whole premise of my job as a teacher, is to be able to give students who come from Missouri or Chicago or Alaska even ideas for access to the types of foods that we eat, and then they can be creative with the ingredients that they have access to.
Now, have you heard of the term blue zone?
Yes.
It is a term that describes 5 countries, I think, if I remember well, Japan, Costa Rica, the US, namely California, Italy, and of course Greece. And apparently in these countries people live up to 100 years or beyond. Is this all about diet, or do genetics and lifestyle play a role?
Lifestyle for sure, and also environmental factors, because most of these blue zones, I can't speak for California because I don't know where they went, but most of these blue zones are in very natural environments where there's sometimes minimal pollution, and also an agricultural, how would you say, agriculture?
Setting?
Yes, the continuation of agricultural practices. So they're
tradition.
Right, and they're surrounded by food. So that makes a huge difference. And then also community, where you're collecting the olives as a community, you're collecting the grapes as a community. So that really brings people together. So it's more, there's the interrelationship between the food, the diet, and then the community, and then also the environmental impacts.
That is actually interesting. It is exactly what the article I was reading, which is a scientific study. They found out that there was another link aside from diet. The other link is these communities live together. They have things in common, such as community building, olive harvest, religion. They go to church together. They have festivals, and apparently all these things contribute to our well-being, because we're pack animals. We don't like to live in isolation.
True. Yeah, it's very important.
So that's an interesting factor, and this is really new to me. That's not something I have learned in my nutrition school.
Sure. That's why some of the students that I host are from the nutrition, they're professors and faculty and students, see this as a very different approach.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk with you and make a recipe and go over your book. And we'll be right back after this break.
Are you getting this, honey?
Oh, prime time. We are rolling.
All right, Mama's gonna bring it home. Mama's gonna bring it home. Okay.
Come on, watch this guy.
Oh, backwards!
Oh, don't. Oh.
It went into Bob and Carol's yard. Oh, no? Okay,
Yeah.
here it is. Oh,
Mom!
Challenge your kids to be active and eat healthy.
all right, let's see what you can do. Let's go.
They might surprise you. Search We Can for more ideas on how you and your kids can get healthy together.
Thank you and welcome back. We've been here with Nikki Rose talking about the roots of the Mediterranean diet. We have a recipe that we're going to start with. So I'll let you guys talk about the recipe, and I'm going to insist on getting everything ready. All right?
Okay, Kevin, we'll entertain you while
All
you're
right.
cooking.
Okay.
Yeah, and the recipe is here in the book. The recipes here are absolutely fabulous, and
Thank you.
they are, from the point of view of someone who cooks for people with health problems. I mean, I can use pretty much every recipe here. So they are also easy to make. They are very common ingredients you can find in any grocery store. So I highly recommend this book for busy moms, for people who are single, who don't want to spend hours and hours in the kitchen. This is really your guide to health. It's a fabulous book. So thank you for writing it for me. So what is the first recipe you're gonna prepare, Kevin?
The first recipe is, well, actually, Nikki, let you talk about it.
Okay.
You know it. You know it very well.
This is very simple cabbage salad. And to that, we're going to add olive oil. We could just do that now. Olive oil. A couple of tablespoons. You can add more if you want to. A little vinegar, just a teaspoon. Raisins.
Yeah. And while she's doing that, I'm going to cut the rest of the cabbage, just in small bite-sized pieces. All right. Calls for a medium size.
Yeah, sure,
Medium
bite-sized.
size.
It's really personal preference, but that looks perfect. And it's beautiful, too.
So what's interesting about this recipe is you're putting these ingredients together because they make sense, because they taste good together, because they go well together. Nutritionally, it really makes sense. For example, there is iron in the cabbage, and there is vitamin C in the oranges we are going to add. And when you mix vitamin C with something that has iron, it actually facilitates the absorption. So that's a perfect combination. Another thing we have in the cabbage is vitamin A. And vitamin A needs fat to be absorbed. We're adding olive oil. So you see how all these combinations, just by mixing together fresh, real food, you come up with something that's high in nutrients and low in calories naturally.
Yeah, great.
So the scallions just dill chop. I'm doing right as she's doing this. I'm doing the orange segments. We already have some done, but we're just taking the knife and going around the outside of the orange and making the segments, and then we're going to segment them, put them in there.
I'm getting hungry just looking at that orange.
All right. We're going to do that, and we just hold it firm in your hand, slice, and make a segment, and take it out. All right. That's all we're doing. So, how many times have you made this recipe?
Me? I made it several times for my family while visiting here.
Okay. Good.
And sometimes I put carrots in there because my nephews like carrots.
And it
And
adds
it's
an
a pretty
orange
color
touch.
too. I mean, this is sort of a base for your imagination. You can put many things in here.
Well, then you have the rest of the
whatever you
oranges
want.
over there. So
I can see
just wanted to show
mangoes
you how to
instead
do
of
that.
oranges.
Yeah, why not?
If you are too busy to get fresh oranges or mangoes, a can of mandarin oranges would do.
And we still have the parsley for the vitamin C.
Excellent.
For your balance that you mentioned.
The walnuts?
Yeah, just a few roasted walnuts. You can leave them whole, you can crack them up. I like them whole because then they show up and they're prettier. So then we just, you can leave this for an hour. Sometimes it's better to leave it to macerate, to let the flavors meld too. And you can gauge it to see sometimes the cabbage is drier and you can put more olive oil if you want. And you're done. That's it. That's, You could put different nuts in here too. It's up to you.
So you have the honey that you brought for us. Tell us about the honey that you brought for us.
Oh yeah, I forgot to put it in. Thanks for reminding me. This honey is from Crete. It's a pine thyme honey that I used. I love it. Look at the color on that.
That is wonderful. I just finished a book this year. It talks about the different varieties of honey.
Writing a book, Kevin, or reading a book?
Reading the book.
I'm like, where did you find the time to write a book?
And this book talked about the varieties of honey in the United States. We have more varieties of honey in the United States than there are anywhere, from different regions, Carolinas, from Florida, and everything is, So in Crete, what's around there that influences the flavors of the honey?
We have thyme. And that's our signature honey. And beekeepers that I work with are privileged enough to have thyme in the mountains where there's no pollution. This is very important, no pesticides. And so they can, if they have enough land, they can move the hives to where the thyme is.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then we also have pine trees. So that's how that ended up being a combination, because the beekeeper is right on the edge of a pine forest.
Okay.
You can definitely taste the thyme in this honey.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really, I use it on my yogurt in the morning. I make my own granola. Can I? I'm going to try this one. What do you think?
And that's what cooks do. We
You can always add
ingredients.
a little more olive oil if we need to.
You can, and I probably would.
Or a little more vinegar.
Always more olive oil. I was in Portugal not too long ago, and they serve everything drenched in fresh olive oil. But the interesting thing is they don't really fry or cook in the olive oil. When the dish comes to you, they add the olive oil on top. And I thought that was very interesting because when you cook something in oil, you expose fat to high heat. It creates that what's called the Maillard reaction, which is a non-biological link between fat and sugar, and that's what we call free radicals. But olive oil like this, you're getting polyunsaturated fats that are very good for your health. So that looks very appetizing.
I know.
It is not going to last very long around here.
Okay.
Okay.
This, like I said, this recipe is in the book. We'll have the recipe online. And we can talk about your website also. All right. Where would they find it if you wanted to go to your website?
Cookingincrete.com.
Okay.
COOKINGINCRETE. That's it.
Good.
Here we go. We're gonna make some juice.
It's gonna be good.
She's excited. A little bit of kale.
Please don't put this on.
I'm putting it all over the line.
It's wet. It needs something. No, it'll go.
Don't break my juicer. Looks good.
You ready to try it?
Come on, baby.
Challenge your kids to be active and eat healthy.
It's okay.
Okay, all right.
They might surprise you.
Hey, she took another sip. You saw it?
Search We Can for more ideas on how you and your kids can get healthy together.
Well, welcome back. Kevin, how's your salad?
Delicious.
Yeah, this is
Fresh.
really... Yeah, it's amazing. The combinations work really well together. I have a question about olive oil. Do they use olive oil in every dish in Crete?
No.
But you said in your book that it's used, it's not good or bad, it's just used like any other ingredient, just like salt and pepper, because it's so available, it's there, and people just use it and they don't think about it. They don't think saturated fat, polyunsaturated fat.
No.
They just use olive oil.
There's no discussion about that. And there's a reason, because we have olive trees.
Right.
And every family I know has olive trees.
Has their own olive trees.
Or knows somebody who has olive trees.
Right.
And so when I left in December, everyone was collecting the olives to make their olive oil. So why would they go to the supermarket and buy something else?
Yeah.
How long does that process take when they pick them?
You have to take them to the factories very quickly. Otherwise they get rancid, moldy. So it has to go straight to the factory. I mean, they say 2-day time for a bigger producer. But, you know, the people I work with book the factory the day they're collecting the olives. That's the system. You don't want the olives to sit out.
Oh, they would rot, yeah.
They rot, they get moldy, and
right. It's
ruins,
pretty fragile, yeah.
Ruins the production.
Another thing I want to talk to you about is your company called, give us the name.
Crete's Culinary Sanctuaries.
Crete Culinary Sanctuaries. Can you describe to us what that is?
It's an opportunity, really, to teach the culture and nature of Crete through the window of food. And so I use food as a window to teach the archaeology. I work with archaeologists, I work with botanists. It's all food related.
The students.
The teachers are from Crete or work in Crete. So it's archaeology, it's botany, it's cuisine, it's fisheries, it's sustainable harvesting of fish. It's not just where to go and get the stuff, it's who produces it, how they collect it responsibly, especially the wild greens, because we have over-harvesting problems, just like in the Amazon, if you think about it. You know, over-harvesting, plants are extinct, and the reason is for irresponsible harvesting. So we want to prevent that in Crete, not that we can, but the more people who know, the better off we are. So students from Missouri, Chicago, Germany, wherever they're coming from, come to us and learn about our culture and our nature. We have hiking, we have archaeological digs that we go to.
Because food permeates every aspect of life.
True.
I mean, that's how we socialize, that's how we celebrate, that's also how we communicate. When someone comes to your home, if you offer food or don't offer food, you offer a drink, don't offer a drink, it all carries different meaning. And what type of food you offer has a meaning.
True, you're right. It's very important to us. I mean, if you go to a dinner men and women, the conversation is usually about food.
Most of the time, yeah.
So it's not just, designated.
Yeah, I know that topic. You know that. We're always talking about food.
That leads us to ecotourism. And this is something that you talk a lot about, and it's something close to my heart because I'm interested in the protection of the environment. And in one of your articles, I was reading how you're really passionate about not only protecting Crete, but educating tourists about how to respect the local communities they visit, because now we have more money, we have better transportations, and people are going all over the globe, and we have massive numbers of people going to small villages or small communities that cannot support that kind of traffic.
Sure. Well, when I first started out hosting students, I was looking for places in the country for people to stay. And so the organization said, wow, you're onto something. And I thought, well, it's common sense. So a lot of what I do is ecotourism, but we called it agritourism because we weren't sure. We didn't really care about the label. It was the responsible travel is now the label, just so you know.
And I remember when you were working with that, trying to get the people to house them and telling them who was actually going to come. And then I think as you kind of developed it, and then when was the first group actually came over?
1998. Yeah, it was a little harder back then. Yeah. But now we have like family-owned lodging. And it's a little easier, but it's the reverse. It's the opposite of mass tourism because Crete has mass tourism. And the reason why I started my job was to counteract that and say, okay, it's a disappearing heritage. Okay. And it's not just food, it's the environment, it's the culture.
Now, I have to ask you, how does tourism affect local communities when it comes to resources?
If it's irresponsible tourism, which is 90% of the tourism, almost around the world. I mean, there are a few places where there's exceptions, but in Crete, we're seeing finally, rural tourism, but if it's not protected, you can't just open your village up to tourists and say, okay, hi, come on in, spend your money. Really, there's a problem with maintaining your own lifestyle, too. How do you do all of that? So there's many challenges.
How does tourism affect lifestyle?
It can affect it in a lot of ways. What I saw back in 1997 when I first started my company is tourists come in and they want pizza, beer, pasta, and that we don't have
ice cream.
Yeah.
And they're not indigenous product. We have pasta. We have homemade pasta, but we don't eat it every night.
Right.
And so then the taverna owners start to either go out of business or just change their theme completely and open a pizza joint.
So by offering these products that are in high demand by tourists, it displaces the local products and changes the way of life of the locals.
Completely. And that's how I started off. I was very angry. I became an activist.
There's things here we can talk about too. You brought some herbs for us.
Oh, this is the time.
Yeah,
this is the time from Crete. It's the purple flowers, so before you break it up, I had to break it up, so we could cook with it easier. But that's wild thyme from the mountains above my house.
Yeah, I enjoyed taking some of that with me because
Yeah.
I just finished up some of the ones that I had. I did
Oh, really?
bring that and showed that to you.
Oh, I have some in my purse. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
And we also have some oregano here from the mountains as well. There are a couple of different varieties, and they sell this like this in the States now. You can get this almost, in a lot of specialty food shops and probably even Whole Foods now.
That smells outstanding.
Mm-hmm. And it's nice to leave it on this branch because it's fresher. You have to break it up. You don't want to eat the stems, but it stays fresher, and it's pretty.
What makes it stay fresher if it's in the branch rather than broken and put in a jar?
Right. If you think about it, if you're breaking this up, you're releasing the essential oils.
Aha.
And so that the stuff that's sitting in the supermarket shelf can be really bitter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It can ruin a dish if it's bitter, like oregano.
Yes.
And you can smell it and you'll know.
And actually, that's the reason when we saute our onions, for example, we add the herbs before adding the oil because we want those essence, those oils to come out, and that's what provides flavor.
I mean, smell it now. If you smelled it before,
oh my goodness,
before you break it up, and if you're picking this straight from the
brings back
mountain,
memories.
if you pick this straight from the mountain, then it's really pungent.
Yeah. You like that, Amy?
Chef Keven.
I mean, Crete, this grows wild, doesn't it?
Yes, right over in the hills.
Hell's the target. Getting fresh. Chef Keven. Organic and fresh. Be so rest.